Joshua chapter number 5 this morning. I want to read just about 3 verses this morning out of Joshua chapter 5. We talked about the first part of Joshua the other day and about Rahab and how the Bible made a special point to call her Rahab the harlot, to identify her sin, to identify the condition she was in, and how God miraculously saved her and her family because of her belief in God. The Bible says about Abraham that he believed God and it was counted to him for righteousness. And the church has put all kinds of stipulations on a relationship with God. Well, you got to be baptized, you got to cut your hair right, or you got to wear the right clothes, or you got to do this, or you got to do that. And God didn't place any stipulations on salvation other than believe on the name of the Lord Jesus Christ, and thou shalt be saved. You know, and I praise God for what He did in Rahab's life. And now we're going to see what He's done in Joshua's life, who's been a believer for a long time. 40 years earlier, Joshua was a believer. 40 years earlier, Joshua was ready to go into the land that God had given him. 40 years, he had waited patiently for the promise of God. He had fought the battles. He had waited for people, the unbelievers, to get out of the way. He had served God. He had served Moses. He had gone through. For 40 years, he had waited for this moment to go into the promised land. On their way here, Joshua had been the battle maker. Joshua had been the ones the ones that Rahab was talking about, of the kings across the Jordan, that they had fought the battles. Moses was the leader. Moses was the voice of God. Moses was the communicator between God and man, and through the Ark of the Covenant and through the clouds on the hillside and stuff. God communicated with Moses, and Moses communicated with the people. And Joshua had been right there beside him to serve him, to protect him, to lead his armies into battle. And so Joshua was one of the greatest swordsmen of the time. Matter of fact, Robert E. Lee and Stonewall Jackson had their units, and they talked about the battles of Joshua and the events of Joshua. Even Hitler himself talked about how they read about the episodes and the escapades of Joshua, and how he had been the battle maker, and they patterned their soldiering after Joshua. And so we have here Joshua in verse number 13 of chapter 5. And it came to pass when Joshua was by Jericho, he lifted up his eyes and looked, and behold, there stood a man over against him with his sword drawn in his hand. And Joshua went unto him and said unto him, Art thou for us or for our adversaries? And he said, Nay, but as captain of the host of the Lord I am now come. And Joshua fell on his face to the earth and did worship, and said unto him, What saith my Lord unto his servant? And the captain of the Lord's host said unto Joshua, Loose thy shoe from off thy foot, for the place wherein thou standest is holy. And Joshua did so. Now, we have Joshua as the great battle maker and battle planner that he is. He's over before they attack Jericho, before they go into Jericho. God has promised them the land. God has told them to advance into the land. And so Jericho is one of the biggest and the fiercest opponents that they have faced in their journey across the Jordan River. They've worked their way up, they've fought their way up across the Jordan River, they've got across the Jordan, and now Jericho stands before them. The great walled city, the great the fortress of the enemies of God was there before him. So the night before, Joshua, as the great battle planner that he is, the strategist that he is, Joshua goes over and he begins to look over the walls of Jericho. He begins to check out how many archers he needs, how many ladders he's going to need to climb the walls, how many soldiers he's going to need to surround the city. He's beginning to plan. He's beginning to look for cracks in the walls. He's beginning to look for the water aqueducts that they feed the city with from the Jordan River into the city. He's beginning to look and see, okay, we can go through this opening. We can tread this water long enough to get in. We can get several people to throw a ladder up and several archers. We can shoot flaming arrows over the wall. And he's beginning to strategize in his mind what it's going to take to take over the city of Jericho. And he's beginning to plan out the attack with his and how many times in our lives do we face
a walled city in our lives, and we begin to strategize, and we begin to figure out, okay, how can I attack this problem? How can I fix this situation? How can I go into this problem? How can I get to this area in my life? How can I fix this coworker? How can I fix this city? How can I fix this church? How can I fix this marriage? How can I fix whatever opportunity and challenge that's coming our way? And it seems so big and looming over us that we don't know how we're going to attack it. But God has told us we have the victory. God has told us we're already overcomers. God has told us we're more than conquerors. And so we're going with our faith, and we're going up against this thing in our lives, just as Joshua was. And then all of a sudden, he sees this man, and he doesn't know whether he's an adversary or whether he's a friend. And he's standing with his sword drawn. And so Joshua, the great captain of the Israelite army that he is, the great soldier that he is, he walks directly up in front of the problem. He faces his problem head on, and he says, "Are you with us, or are you with them?" And he's ready to take it either direction. He's ready to either stick his hand out in friendship, or he's ready to draw his sword and go to battle. And it all depends on the answer that this adversary gives. Are you with us, or are you with them? Now that's not a yes or no question. That question needs more than a yes or a no to answer it effectively. Are you with us, or are you with them? That question needs some stipulation put on it. But notice what this person with his sword drawn said. He says, "No." "No what? Are you with them, or are you with us?" "No." And basically he says, "I ain't with neither one of you." He says there, "Nay, but as captain of the host of the Lord I'm come." God is not on your side. God is not on your enemy's side. God is on His side. Now, you want to get on God's side? Cool. You want to get on the enemies of God's side? That's cool too. The sword's already drawn. I don't personally want to make an enemy out of God. It's bad enough to make an enemy out of Rose. It's bad enough to make an enemy out of your boss. It's bad enough to make an enemy out of your child. Because he may be sitting down in time out, but he's standing up spitting on you in his mind. What we see, though, is we see the lack of faith in Joshua. Who told him to go forward? God did. Who told them the promised land was theirs? Everywhere that the sole of your foot touches is yours? God did. So why would he be over there checking out the city to see how advanced if God's already given it to him? You see, that's what we do. We stress out, and we get all bent out of shape, and we plan, and we figure, and we write it down on calendars, and we dot our I's, and we fill out our spreadsheets, and we get all this stuff done, and we figure it all out. We do God's battle for him. And God said, "I got it." See, God had already checked out Jericho long before Joshua ever got there. And it just... I mean, you think about it. Realistically, people walking around a walled city quiet for 7 days. People walking around a walled city and on the 7th day blowing some horns and shouting a little bit. That ain't going to knock no city down. Your best efforts in life is not going to take care of your situations. I think Kathy's still a travel planner or something. People call her that plan my trip. You still doing that?
Oh, sweet. She charges you. Oh.
Where do you think she got the handful of diamonds from? She didn't give out no free advice. But she plans people's trips. And I'll guarantee you, probably about 75% of the trips she plans, as good as she is, something's going to go wrong on that trip. See, when God takes care of something, ain't nothing going wrong. There are no surprises to God. It didn't surprise God the last time you screwed up. It didn't surprise God the last time you had a little lack of faith. It didn't surprise God the last time you stood up and you did everything you were supposed to do. He said, I'm not with you, and I'm not with them, but I'm the captain of the Lord's host. And God had already checked out Jericho. See, what God was checking out more than Jericho was checking out Joshua. And what God wants to know is not how you attack your problems. It's how you depend on God. As he stood up in the battle, how is it that you have no faith? You know, that's just a real condemnation. What you mean, Lord? I've been walking with you for 3 years. I've been floating your boats and watching you do miracles, and you tell me I ain't got no faith? Joshua stands here, and he's planning his attack. God had already done the scouting, and God does not need Joshua's help. I don't know how many of you remember a few years ago that thing that came out all over the place. God is my co-pilot. You know what a co-pilot does? He gets in the plane, he sits down, he shuts up, and he does what the pilot tells him to do. I don't want God to be my co-pilot. I want God to be my pilot. I'm a screw up from the word go. I came out of my mama being a screw up. I was born in a sanitarium. That tells you a little bit about what I was. I want God to be my pilot. See, Joshua was making all these plans, and we go through life, and how can we change our community? Hey, it cries, cool. We go through life trying to plan on how we can do this, and how we can do that, and how we can fix this, and how we can fix this person, and how we can fix our town, how we can fix our job, and how we can fix our marriage, and how we can fix... And what we really need to do is say, Lord, I want to follow you in this. Lord, Brad was in that wreck about a month or so ago. I asked him this morning, I said, did it change your perspective on life? Yeah, a little bit. See, when you see your life almost slip away, it kind of changes your perspective. Because he couldn't do nothing to slow that truck down to hit him. He couldn't do nothing to protect himself in that car. If he'd have been outside that car, he'd probably been dead. But God left him breathing for some reason. And I know you've been struggling with it for years. You need to figure out the reason. And it ain't your decision. I love that sound when they're that age. When they get loud as they want to, I still talk over them. When they get two, man. God is not scouting Jericho, but He's scouting Joshua. God is not interested in the mountain that you're trying to climb or the storm that you're trying to battle. But He's interested in who's climbing the mountain and who's floating the boat. See, God wants the best for us. God was interested in teaching Joshua who was in control. God was interested in teaching Joshua who was in control of Jericho and who was in control of Israel. It says there, and he said, nay, but as the captain of the host of the Lord, I am now come. Excuse me. When Joshua showed up at Jericho, God was already there. Joshua was over against Jericho, checking it out, figuring it out. And he saw a man that was already there with his sword drawn. See, God's already got your problem under control before you ever get there. When you see the problem and when you plan the problem, God has already got the problem under control. He's already standing there with his sword drawn, ready to take care of your problem. You and I just have to have the faith to believe He can take care of our problem. Because sometimes we don't. I know most of y'all out there do, but we don't. Because we get a problem, and the first thing we do is worry. Maybe the second, third, or fourth thing we do is pray. But the first thing we do is worry. Don't we? Those of you who didn't answer are liars. Think about how Joshua must have felt. You remember the first chapter of Joshua? what God said to him? Point blank. Moses, my servant's dead. 40 years. 40 years, as long as me and Rose been married. 40 years he'd been dependent on Moses to tell him where to go, what to do, how to do, when to do. And now he was alone, and the responsibility of taking God's kids into the promised land was dumped on his shoulders. Because he said, Moses, my servant, is now dead. Now, you be of a good courage, be strong and of a good courage. Go forward, take over the land that I gave you 40 years ago. Do you still believe today as much as you did 40 years ago? Do we still believe as much today as we did 4 years ago? We've gone through some stuff. You've gone through some stuff. Are you still as on fire today as you were years ago? What happened if you're not? What happened if I'm not? Something came between you and your faith. It wasn't God that let you down, but you started watching something else other than God. And Joshua was at that point. He could either trust himself and his strategies, or he could join up with God. Because that's what the man said. He said, I ain't with you or with them. You want to come with me, we can win. You want to go with them, you're going to lose. I mean, it's kind of a no-brainer when you really look at it. But sometimes we're no-brainers, aren't we? And for the first time in many, many, many years, Joshua had to make the decisions for himself. I told our kids over in Sunday school this morning, I said, you got enjoy school while you can. Because you in a few years, you're going to be paying your own house payment. You're going to be buying your own gas. You're going to be buying your own Miracle Whip. And it ain't going to be as long as you think it is. You think school is eternity, but it ain't. And you young folks, you 20s, you working yourself to death trying to build a career that may not be there when you get there. Be careful what you put your priorities in. But whatever you face as a Christian, you just remember that there's a man standing there with a sword already drawn to take care of whatever problem it is you face. And you're going to face some stuff. You're going to go through some stuff. You're going to be... God, I hate that thing. You're going to be messed on. You're going to be messed over. You're going to be skipped over when you should have been chosen. And you're going to work yourself to death and they're going to replace you with a number. But God, if you choose God. See, Joshua had that choice. He said, I ain't coming for either one of you. But I'm coming as the man. I'm coming as the captain of the host. And if you want to join up with me, cool. And that's the invitation that God gives each one of us today. You can join up with God or you can do it your way. And see how your way is working out for you? You're miserable about every day. There ain't no happiness. There ain't no joy. There ain't no answers to the problems. There ain't no fix for what's got you down. So I asked somebody the other day, I'm going to ask you this morning, how's that working out for you? I had a guy over at the car wash one day. I was over there washing my car. We got to talking and everything. He's kind of like a young man. He's kind of discouraged with God because his son died. And he says, I'm mad at God. He was homeless. He was on food stamps. And his wife had left him. And he said, I'm mad with God. I said, how's that working out for you? I mean, you just look at it. I mean, logically, just look it out for you. When I was mad at God, and I've been there, I know how that is. The same captain that came to Joshua, if you look real close at your problem, you'll see a man standing over against 12 with his sword drawn. And he's ready to take on your problem. And he's ready to defeat your problem in the weirdest kind of ways. I mean, you think about walking around the city being quiet, nowadays that never works. Because you can't get a whole church full of people, much less a whole tribe, to walk quiet for 7 days. I mean, I tried to teach our Sunday school class of kids over here, and it's like herding cats. But apparently they get something out of it because they remind me of what I preached. Joshua thought he was about to fight the battle of his life. Joshua thought it's come to this. This could be the end. And I'm going to figure out every single way I possibly can. If I have to stay up all night long, I'm going to figure out how many archers I need, and how many ladder bearers I need, and how many soldiers I need, and how many swimmers I need, and I'm going to figure it out, and we're going to do the best we can. If we go down, we're going to go down fighting. And many of us have that attitude. Yeah. We're either going to whoop it or it's going to kill us. Yeah. We're going to make it work. Yes. By God, or I'm going to kill somebody. It's going to work out on my paper. Yes. Good. I got to get it scheduled. It's got to make sense. I got news for you folks. And we won't tell the folks out there. But many times, God don't make no sense when He attacks your problem. He does it in the weirdest kind of ways. Amen. And He doesn't have to explain it to me and you. That's right. Walk around the city. Bust some pots. Blow some horns. And the wall's going to fall down. No, God, you don't understand. I got archers. God, you don't understand. I got schedules made. God, I've got this group over here, and this group over here, and this group over here. I got it. God, you no. We're not going to walk, and we're not going to blow, and we're not going to sing. I got it, God. You just. But Joshua made the right choice. Amen. He fell on his face. He worshipped. He took his shoes off and said, whatever you want. What did the Lord got to say to me? And he said, you walk around the city, you blow some horns, and I'll take care of the wall. Man, it's hard to believe God's going to take care of the wall. I mean, whatever wall it is in yours in my life, it's hard to believe God can take care of it. But you know what? That's where faith comes in. One more, well, I have probably more than one more thing, but I'll just throw them in one at a time like that. Before the battle had started, the guy's sword was already drawn. Mm-hmm. Before the enemy even knew God was coming, God was ready. See, your problem, my problem, ain't no surprise to God. He done got his sword ready. He's done got the answer ready. As far as God's concerned, the wall's already down. But we got to keep living. We got to keep scheduling. We got to keep writing. We got to keep figuring. I had a guy call me the other day. Said, "What's on your calendar?" I said, "I threw it away." I said, "What happens, happens." Had a guy called this morning and said, "No, every Sunday go guy from Oklahoma called on some hay." That was kind of a long trip for everybody else. Hey. I said, "Call me back in a little while. I'm right in the middle of church right now." You know? You notice he doesn't answer the question, but he makes a statement. Mm-hmm. He says, "Are you for us, or are you for them?" He said, "No." "No what?" He says, "No to both of your questions. I'm not for you, and I'm not for them." See, I get ticked when people talking about, "Well, I pray that my football team will win." Now, I understand if you're a Cowboys fan, you need to pray. And some of you must have, because if last week, I think they beat the Saints or something, didn't they? You know, we pray for stuff that we expect God to pick sides. God's on His own side. There's a children's song somewhere I remember hearing it. I'm on the Lord's side. You know? And that little song that says Joshua fought the battle of Jericho. Joshua didn't do no fighting. Joshua walked around the city, blew some horns, and broke some pottery. God did the fighting.
Amen.
And it's the same way in yours and my life. God will do the fighting. All we got to do is just ride with Him. You read chapter 6, and it's the silliest chapter in the whole Bible. And you shall compass this city with all the men of war, and you go round and round the city once, and you go round and round the city again, you go round. Can't you just imagine seeing Joshua, this great soldier that he is? I mean, okay, tell me what the Lord's plan is. Tell me what the Lord's plan of attack is. Well, you got 37 archers over here, you need 42. You got 3 swimmers over here, you need 6. No, God said, y'all put your swords and stuff down. And get your shoes on. A few of you grab some horns. A couple of you grab some lamps. Can't you see Joshua going, it's not a banquet we're going to, God. We don't need pitchers. And we don't need horns. We need swords. And God says, you leading this battle or me? And I think He asks us that question sometimes in life too. Are you running your life? Or do you want me to run your life? Because when we start running our lives, we start ruining our lives. But God says, lay your swords down. The battle's not yours. The battle belongs to the Lord. I just need you to follow directions. And in yours and my life, that's all God wants us to do. He don't want us to fight. He wants us to go with Him. Let Him do the fighting. We get so stressed out, so bum-fuzzled about stuff that we can't fix. Just let God handle it. There's so many times in my life that I've tried to take care of stuff. And it don't work out that way. And there's so many other times in life when I say, Lord, I don't know what to do about this. I don't know what to do about that. God, I need you. And you know what? Every single time. Every single time. May not be in my time. But every single time. I think sometimes God's late. I think I'm going to give Him a watch for Christmas. But God is right on time. All the time. Every time.
Amen.
He knows what needs to be done, when it needs to be done, and how it needs to be done. Remember, He's been at this God stuff a lot longer than we have. And He's been pretty good at keeping the world going, keeping the rain falling, keeping the sun shining, keeping the moon going. You know, He's kind of proven Himself in my eyes to know what He's doing. And the sooner we can realize that, I think the more peaceful life we can live. And in the great words of Forrest Gump, that's all I got to say about that.